Hello, Endersword here again, this time with a bit of a brief discussion topic, and that topic's going to be on whether or not we take a little too seriously a lot of things that just happen to end up getting recorded or happen to be in a format that is replicable and easily shareable with a lot of other people. I mean this both as a community for esports as well as just society in general. A lot of us will just go out and hang around a bunch of friends and start talking, and you'll insult someone. Your friends will kind of make fun of some girl they know. One of your friends will make fun of his job or his boss or complain about it or something like that. As long as you're just kind of talking with each other, then that seems perfectly fine. Even if someone ends up actually repeating those statements to other people, they don't have quite that same oomph to them. They don't have the same impact as if they are actually in a recorded format. If you had done the exact same thing, made fun of some girl you know, but you texted it to one of her friends and they were able to directly show that text to that person, suddenly it has a lot more impact. But it only has that impact because it's written down, because it's actually become permanent. It was intended as private communication, but because the private communication is storable and shareable in some way, it somehow has a greater impact. The way that I think this translates to esports and what we should all kind of be aware of is that these players and a lot of the team owners and any of the community figures have friends that live across great geographical distances, that one of the only ways that they can communicate with each other is through these channels that can essentially become public. So even though a lot of statements are made that are not intended as public statements, there's always a risk that anything that you say could have been recorded, could end up in a public arena, could end up being at just a wrong time when your friend happened to be doing something public like streaming. Someone could have taken a chat log out of context and posted it somewhere else. Someone could have even gone back to a game that you played with them 8 months ago, pulled up the chat log from it, take a screenshot, and get you fired as a caster. Anything like that could definitely happen to pretty much anyone out there. And I think that we as a community, as well as teams and even to a certain extent sponsors, need to recognize a very distinct line between communication that was intended as public communication, something that you say inappropriately on Twitter or your own stream or at a tournament or something like that, which was clearly intended for public consumption, even if directed at a specific other person, is in a format that you know other people can see it. In that type of setting, you should definitely be kind of watching what you say and representing yourself. But there's a much greater difficulty when you think that you're speaking in private with a good friend of yours, and all of a sudden that happens to not be a private conversation, potentially through no fault of your own, but even if it was a bit your fault, but it wasn't your expectation that that sort of thing would ever go public. I think we just have to make a lot of distinction between those two things. Basically, if I followed almost anyone around for probably about a day with a tape recorder and just listened to things that people say, you could pick out something that that person said or did that they wouldn't want replayed to their boss at work, that they wouldn't want put at the bottom of their next resume. If I just put a quote from you there, if you went through your own chat logs and do it, look in your own chat logs from anything you do in the past few days and say, would I want this all to be completely public information? And you got to imagine that a lot of the players in the community, that's 90% of how they talk to other people. If you don't live in a team house, or you're trying to practice with someone across the world, or you just know someone that's your good friend that you want to speak to, well, how else are you going to talk to them other than through electronic communication or something that could potentially be recorded and could potentially come back and bite you in the ass? So when we kind of go on these, and I'll grant there wasn't a whole lot of a witch hunt or anything on this one, but I feel that the punishment may be disproportionate to what sort of thing happened. I think we just need to consider the type of source that it came from. did the person intend this as public communication, or did it just end up as public communication? And if you had heard it through hearsay, if someone just said, hey, I heard someone say this, but they weren't able to actually show you a picture of it, then would you take it as seriously as you're taking the comment when you can actually see that picture, when you can actually watch that video, when you can actually listen to that audio? Just something to consider. Leave comments below or blah, 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 whatever. Just thought it would be an interesting thing to talk about later.